Karen. How are you?
I'm fine. How are you, Trae?
I'm doing well. I'm doing well. I mean, I want to talk a bit about your background before we get into your role at Plymouth Housing. This right here takes a lot of understanding from a community perspective. And I got to ask you, tell us a bit about some of your beginnings in your career that kind of led you to where you are today with Plymouth Housing.
My beginnings are they're humble, but they're privileged, both together. I was born during the civil rights era, and I've just witnessed many, many things. And my parents were both givers to the community. My mom was a teacher. My dad was an Army officer, and he was quite decorated, served in the Vietnam War. And he was also the first African American to be promoted to general. So I was able to see firsthand not only discrimination from a racial perspective as a child in Virginia in the 60s, but then I also saw, what can happen if we are given a chance. And so I think that I just tried early on to, have a life similar to my parents, try to make the world a little better from some of the discrimination that I experienced as a child, that I experienced as a woman in the military. And I've been given tremendous gifts because of trying to live that life.
Amazing. Well, when we think about the need for housing, it is grand, it is vast. But you have a real shining star on your history that I got to dive into because you're the first Black female to graduate West Point. Did I get it right?
From the state of Washington.
Wow. Okay.
From
there
the
we
state
go.
of Washington,
Yeah.
yes.
Well, that's a huge feat. When you think about the dedication that it takes to get through that academy, we know nationally known as being a top tier place in terms of drilling things in. Really, my number one thing I get from that is discipline. Tell us a bit about how you have brought that understanding and that experience into your career.
I think what you get a lot of good things from an academy. And back in the day, back when I went in 1982, there weren't many women. The first class graduated in 1980. And when I look back at my time, I'm astonished about how much things have changed today. Um, there were restrictions on what we could do, what branches we could go in. Um, and so, and there was, I would say, um, tough treatment, to put it nicely, for women. So discipline is taught too, but I just think perseverance is something that I've learned. And I also learned, I think, that that things can change and the wheels of justice turn slowly, but they turn. Not often, as quickly as we would like, but certainly they do turn. If I think back about my military time, I think about my sisters that were there. So just for you and for the audience, just a bit about a military academy. All of the military academies, Army, Navy, Air Force, they have roughly 4,000 cadets or midshipmen, and in each of those classes graduate about 1,000. And there's tremendous drop off. So they'll recruit about 1,400 in a particular class because they expect to get down to about 1,000 by graduation day, and then after graduation, you owe time in the military. So when I went, the class was about 10% women and roughly about 15% African American, and so the women that graduated with me, my sisters, were sisters to this day, and there were right around 20 of us that were African American, and we still get together, we talk to each other, we talk about all the things that have happened to us in life, good or bad. And it is truly, truly a sorority in a way of speaking. And those bonds are with you forever because we have experienced some stuff.
Yeah. and together, I can
Yes.
only imagine. And so then I wonder, like, how do you take that perseverance, the lessons you learned there into your role now? I mean, you're just really starting out as a CEO of Plymouth Housing, but we know Plymouth Housing to be kind of one of those institutions here where, when we talk about kind of filling that void, tell us a bit about Plymouth and then how you brought that experience into your role as CEO.
Absolutely. So Plymouth is the third organization that I've led. So I ran a state agency, the Employment Security Department, about in the early 2000s. Then I ran Pioneer Human Services, which is a reentry organization. It's also a nonprofit social enterprise, which helps people that have just been just decimated because of, they've been formerly incarcerated or they have a record. And now it's with Plymouth. So I have experience in leading an organization. But Plymouth, it's different from the other two organizations because the vulnerability of the residents, the individuals that we serve, it's tremendous. And it's people that have we've all had hard knocks in life, and we've all made decisions that if we could go back and unmake those decisions, we would unmake them. That's life.
Mhm.
The individuals that we serve at Plymouth have had those decisions, it's life circumstance, um, illness, disease, uh, overwhelm them to the point where they have no place to live. And I try to talk to the residents. We have 1,100 residents that we serve directly. Another 500 that we make sure have a place to live outside of Plymouth. So I don't know every single resident individually, but some of the stories have a common thread. They didn't intend to be unhoused. It's this sequence of life events that just became more and more and more overwhelming that caused them to lose their housing. And then on top of that, the ramification of that is illnesses that become worse. Addictions is a way to cope with mental illness or being unhoused and out on the street. And so it's almost a failure of every other institution that we have, from all the other ills that we talk about: a poor education system, not enough housing, over incarceration, over policing, poor choices at times that are all wrapped into, discrimination and meanness
Mhm.
and making others invisible. All of these result in someone being unhoused. And it's sad. But in Seattle, we know the number. We have a point in time count every year where we know we register people. Most of our homeless individuals, sorry about that, we know who they are. They're registered. If we had a place for them to go, it would be different.
Mm.
And so I talked about perseverance. I have the same belief system that the people in our community are good, and that it bothers them to see individuals living on the street. It bothers them to see people in crisis, and I believe that we can come together and we can solve this problem.
Yeah, it does definitely take a unified approach. It's something I'm always talking to Brian Callanan from Seattle Channel and Seattle News Views and Brews here on Converge. I'm always talking with him about this, and we dove into this last week. Just the need for there to be solutions that are really geared towards sustainability, because they're listening to the voices of those who they're looking to serve. By centering those voices, I think you come up with some pretty unique strategies and approaches to tackling this. But Plymouth has, like you said, 1,100 residents. You guys are being actively engaged with the community that you're looking to serve. When you think about some of the things you're really excited about in your new role here, in terms of serving, that vulnerable population as you described, tell us a bit about some of the top points for you that really excite you about, stepping in as the leader of Plymouth Housing and really moving that mission and vision forward.
Absolutely. So one thing about homelessness is it's not a one size fits all solution. People are individual, and we have to have individual types of solutions um, that we can deliver at scale in the social services industry.
Yeah.
So what we offer is permanent supportive housing, which is a little bit different. So let's just say that you um, wherever where you or I live, say we rent an apartment and then the building is sold, new landlord comes, they raise the rent 3 times, and then we can't afford to live there, and so then we have to move out. Well, you and I need a different solution, right? We just might need a one-time cash payment assistance for down payment to get another place, right? Or a temporary place till we can find another place. So that's that's like a diversion tactic. um, Plymouth serves people that are chronically homeless, that have been on the street, individuals that also have a disability. So what we
Mm.
provide is permanent supportive housing, which is our lane, and it's an important lane, um, and we're honored to do it. One thing about the people that we serve is, unfortunately, um, because of life in America, 50% of the people we serve are people of color,
Mm.
and 29% are African American. Here
Wow.
in Seattle and King County, when our percentage in the population is a single digit number. So, what I'm excited about, first of all, is that Plymouth is really working hard to not only center voices, but to make sure that we're an anti racist organization that speaks to the need of BIPOC individuals, knowing that we can't undo all the harms that have been done in the past. But we want to acknowledge that harm has occurred, and then do what we can to be a learning organization that respects those individuals in a way where they'll feel that they'll be seen, and that our employees will feel that they've been seen. And we're not perfect, but I'm so excited that we are striving to be an organization that is centered on the needs of individuals who have been treated as less than in the past.
Mhm.
So I'm really excited about that. And from our board to our employees, we want to be better to ourselves, to the people that we serve, and to our community.
Yeah.
So that's important. It's also important is that we want to continue to grow and expand, because there are still people on the street that are unhoused.
Yeah.
And as long as there's a single person on the street that's unhoused that we should be serving, we feel that we're not achieving our mission. So we're adding 3 new projects this year. Each of them will serve about 100 more individuals. And then we're expanding to the east side and also in North Seattle. So excited about that. And then lastly, I talked a little bit earlier that we have residents who are in need of additional healthcare services. So we're integrating behavioral health into our service offering. So those 3 things I'm particularly excited about and proud of as we continue to help the community be a model and live the fact that housing is a right.
Yeah. This is really important because anybody who's working in the housing sector, particularly when it comes to those who are unhoused, you all have a model of permanent secure housing
That's right.
that I think really a lot of other institutions can learn from, because we see this revolving door oftentimes. And I was just talking about this, how if you're in one city and you're at a day shelter and you're getting services from that day shelter, or you're at a overnight shelter, whatever, it's all like this temporary opportunities for folks to kind of tap into that resource when they can. But they need something that is permanent and that
Mm-hmm.
is really sustainable, because now you're able to take someone who has seen themselves in that predicament over and over again, kind of in that hamster wheel,
Yeah.
be able to do something about it for themselves, get themselves off of that wheel. And it does often require wraparound services. So it's great to hear that you all are incorporating that. That was going to be another question I had. So I'm glad you answered it, because I do think that when you think about what does it mean for you all to kind of be that solution oriented space? I think about some of my family members who have had to utilize services like Plymouth, and honestly, it is a game changer. You know,
Mm-hmm.
when somebody can say, "Now I can breathe," right? Now I can relax because I've been out here just trying to make it. Now I got stability that I can use as my foundation. So kudos to you for stepping up to the plate as CEO, Miss Karen. This is really exciting. I'm excited to see what you all do as you expand and as you grow in your role. And just know this is the beginning. You know, this is the
Mm-hmm.
beginning of a great relationship as you guys have these projects opening. I would love to stay engaged and informed and utilize my show as a platform to really share that out. I think this is something we can celebrate when it comes to having spaces that not only understand those unique qualifying needs of the individuals and families you serve, but also that we can learn from how you guys are modeling the way. So kudos to you. You can look right there. Let folks know if they're looking to connect with Plymouth, if they know somebody who's in need of your services, how do they connect with Plymouth Housing?
You can go to our website, plymouthhousing.org. And if I also can give a plug to Seattle Dances, it's one of our major fundraising events. You can follow it online, but that's where we have a Dancing with the Stars competition where you can support a dancer, and that will help raise a lot of money for the work that we do, because it does take resources for us to be able to provide the services that we do so that our residents can have a healthy, fulfilling, and wholesome life.
Amazing. Well, thanks so much for joining me today. I learned a lot from you, and I'm looking forward to seeing you flourish in your role. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Trae. It's a pleasure to be here.
Absolutely.